like I said, these things may seem kind of ridiculous to be thinking that this little thing that I do, even just as small as like listening to a tune, is going to help you really get better in your playing or in your recovery. Whatever. I mean, apply this to whatever situation you're in, guys. But what I realized through doing this, and one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this episode now is because it's to remind myself to continue doing this, because I've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing it. And so I'm doing this to help me get rid of the need to improve all the way right now. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm really excited to share another episode with you guys of just you and I, just talking, sharing something that is, I think, very important for all musicians and everyone in life to just take into account. And that is our overall mindset, but specifically something called the 1% mindset. And this is something that's been talked about by many people. And a lot of research has been done. But I want to start out by sharing a quick story. And this was shared by the great James Clear. If any of you guys have read the book Atomic Habits, that is his book, and I've listened to it twice now. And it's just great about illustrating in concrete ways how to do this, how to accomplish this 1% mindset. But he shares this story in the first couple of chapters of his book, and it's online. That first chapter is online for people to read, and also I believe it's free on YouTube. So definitely check it out. I'll put it in the show notes. But he starts out by saying this: the fate of British cycling changed one day in 2003. The organization, which was the governing body for professional cycling in Great Britain, had recently hired Dave Brailsford as its new performance director. At that time, professional cyclists in Great Britain had endured nearly 100 years of mediocrity. Since 1908, British riders had won just a single gold medal at the Olympic Games, and they had fared even worse in cycling's biggest race, the Tour de France. In 110 years, no British cyclist had ever won the event. Brailsford had been hired to put British cycling on a new trajectory. What made him different from previous coaches was his relentless commitment to a strategy that he referred to as the aggregation of marginal gains. And that's the phrase that I want you guys to really pay attention to, which was the philosophy of searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything you do. Brailsford said the whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. Brailsford and his coaches began by making small adjustments you might expect from a professional cycling team. They redesigned the bike seats to make them more comfortable and rubbed alcohol on the tires for a better grip. They asked riders to wear electrically heated overshorts to maintain ideal muscle temperature while riding, and used biofeedback sensors to monitor how each athlete responded to a particular workout. The team tested various fabrics in a wind tunnel and had their outdoor riders switch to indoor racing suits, which proved to be lighter and more aerodynamic. In just 5 years after Brailsford took over, the British cycling team dominated the road and track cycling events at the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, where they won an astounding 60% of the gold medals available. 4 years later, when the Olympic Games came to London, the Brits raised the bar as they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. And so I'm just kind of cutting and pasting some of the chapter. This isn't in succession. He goes on to say later in that chapter that it is so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Too often, we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. Whether it is losing weight, building a business, writing a book, winning a championship, or achieving any other goal, we put pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvements that everyone will talk about. Meanwhile, improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it's not even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. Here's how the math works out. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you'll decline nearly down to zero. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. So it's a lot there, right? But I wanted to share that with you guys because this principle has revolutionized the way that I view my practicing, especially right now that I'm not practicing my trumpet at the time of this recording in March of 2024. And I wanted to share a little bit of some things that I do to make this principle more concrete in my life. Let's see when it was. It was, I think, August of 2023. Beginning of August. I had these little glass gems that my mom had given me, kind of to help, track my practice repetitions, and I wanted to use those to track my little 1% improvements. And specifically for me, being a jazz musician and ultimately wanting to study that and teach it professionally later on, I decided to make it completely about 1% gains in my jazz facet of my life. And so I took this little notebook. It's a little cute little cassette tape thing that my sister Dana, who does the promotional materials for the show, she took this cassette tape and case and made a little book out of it for me. So shout out to her. And I started writing down all the things I would do each day to improve in jazz. And some of these things are just like, I listened to a bunch of recordings of Stella by Starlight, because that's the tune I was learning that month. Or even I listened to a great Herbie Hancock record. These little things, even though they may seem inconsequential, as I wrote them down, it helped me to see that I was actively doing things to get better in my career and as my goals as a jazz musician. And then what I would do is I would take this jar, it says 1% improvement jar, and then I would, for each thing that I did, no matter how inconsequential, I would put it in this jar. And I've already filled this up one time. There's about 250 gems, I think, that I have. And like I said, these things may seem kind of ridiculous to be thinking that this little thing that I do, even just as small as like listening to a tune, is going to help you really get better in your playing or in your recovery, whatever. I mean, apply this to whatever situation you're in, guys. But what I realized through doing this, and one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this episode now is because it's to remind myself to continue doing this, because I've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing it. And so I'm doing this to help me get rid of the need to improve all the way right now. Because in our world, I mean, we always talk about it, it's a cliche at this point, that we live in a world of immediate gratification, in social media, in the internet in general, in Amazon Prime, which I use all the time. But, that 2-day shipping or one overnight shipping, whatever it is, becomes very convenient. But yeah, we need to get rid of the need to be getting to our destination right now, or to be like, we look at our heroes and our instruments, or even just like from an injury standpoint, we look at the people who are playing, at the level that we want to, and we're still, wherever you are in your path, and we kind of get down on ourselves with that discrepancy. But I want to point out that if you remember in that story about the British cycling team, it took 5 years, right, for them to get all those accolades, to win all those medals and set all those records. It took at least 5 years, and I'm sure they saw that that's not the only measurement of success that they were. That's actually definitely not the only measure of success that they were using. They definitely saw improvements along the way, even though that's not necessarily illustrated in the chapter. And there's actually some cool graphics along in this chapter that you should check out when you go on that link. But we have to get rid of that need to be perfect right now, or to be immediately successful, and just trust the process and see how this this new mindset can really pay dividends in your well-being. Not only that, but also it helps you and it gives you the license when you get rid of that that instant gratification mindset. It gives you the license to invest in the other areas of your life that we've talked about many times on this show. And you will be able to see the benefits of how the rest of your life holistically goes into your musicianship. So yeah, just trade in your immediate gratification card for like an investment portfolio, if you want to put it that way. And keep on keeping on, guys. It's a process. It's a lifelong process. There's a guy named Tony Robbins, which I mentioned on the show before. He always says that people they overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they underestimate what they can do in 5 or 10 or 20. And I promise you guys that as you are getting rid of that need to improve all the way, right away, that you will see over time greater improvement, more exponential improvement in your well-being, in your musicianship, in your overall artistry, whatever, insert your situation into this principle and apply it. For you guys going through injury, what I would invite you to do, something I'm going to start doing when as I get back to the horn in a couple of months, is I'm going to, instead of doing jazz related things, I'm going to do this for trumpet related things, just trumpet in general, things that I'm doing to keep myself healthy, to keep myself moving forward, because that upward progression that we're looking for, one of the greatest things I've learned is that it's not just a straight line, or a straight line upward, or diagonal line upward, I guess. It's actually like this, but the upward trend, or the trend, is upward. And that has been a huge help in me developing the mindset that helps me to have the greatest amount of peace and fulfillment in my music and in my life in general. And so I hope this has been helpful for you guys. This 1% mindset will pay dividends in your life and in your musicianship and in your recovery. And it's just a wonderful place to be mentally. And so keep on keeping on, guys, and keep trusting the process. Until next time. Thanks for listening today. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Make sure you share this with a musician you care about who is going through injury, a music educator in your life, or anyone just trying to make it in life. If you have a suggestion for a guest or topic to cover, shoot me an email at trustprocesspodcast@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Before we go, I just want to give a heartfelt thank you and shout out to my team: Daniel Baldwin, who is my audio engineer, Kevin West, who does all music and sound effects for the show, Peyton Womack, our website developer, and my sister, Dana Lovell, who created the logo and promotional materials. We wouldn't have the show without them. So tune in next time for another episode of Trust the Process.